Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome to this session today of Business Insight. We're live here at Smart 24 TV. Now this is that time, that critical time of the day where we get a guest to come in really and give us insight on pertinent issues happening within the country, of course, and globally coming in. Now remember, talking about Equal Pay Day, talking about the equal pay situation in Uganda and the different gaps that are therein. We would want, of course, to focus more or less on the education sector today. And of course, to give us insight, we have within studio one of the captains of that ship from Uganda National Teachers Union. We do have the General Secretary, Mr. Baguma Philbert. And our topic today is going to be bridging the pay gap in Uganda's education sector. Good morning, sir.
Morning, madam.
Yeah, the captain at the captain at the helm. Captain at the helm. That is how we choose to actually bring you here.
Yes.
Matters concerning teachers. Over 136,000 teachers so far, and yet last year, 2023, the government was saying it will recruit a couple of 78,000 teachers for the primary section. Now you do have the disgruntled ones who are still inside. You do have many teachers that have left for the border businesses, and the majority have actually practiced their exit on the pay gap there.
Yes.
What is happening in your docket?
Obviously, the challenge has been the government decision, and I think this was the worst decision in the 38 years NRM has been here, of dividing the public servants into science and arts. And the consequence, Ugandans should be ready to get the consequences, which will be very, very bad. Of course, when you bring decisions that are not well thought, it is very hard to look at the other side. You are looking at this now, and you are saying, this is what I want. And it is done. Salary goes with gratuity and pension. So if you just look at salary and you say, I am increasing salary, without looking at the other side, it will definitely knock you. And now when this decision was made, first of all, where does the teaching of science begin from? If you wake up and say, okay, I am considering those of secondary because primary is general. What is involved in general? Now, that demoralizes, even up to now, the definition of who a science teacher is
still very vague.
Is still vague, because you are teaching ICT, but the mere fact that you studied geography, ICT, you are not paid.
Same as home economics.
Someone who did mathematics, ICT, and is teaching ICT is paid a science salary. For you, you did ICT geography, and they don't pay you, and you are teaching ICT. Now, in God's sake, how do you expect this teacher to have a peace of mind, to be motivated, to continue doing the work as he or she is supposed to do it.
Can we context it under discrimination?
Of course, and our constitution is very clear. It talks against discrimination in all fronts. Article 21 is very clear. But now here is a government which has come up with a discriminatory salary enhancement. And in all this we are talking about, the sufferer is the innocent learner. Because the learner is not part of this game. But at the end of the day, it is the learner who is suffering, because teachers' conditions are learners' conditions. And therefore, if the teacher is not comfortable, if the teacher is demoralized, then the output there will be affected, and the learners will not gain what they should have gained at the end of the day.
You did sign, UNATO signed as a union, yes? Signed the collective bargaining agreement with so many other unions, yes.
Yes.
And you did, of course, bring into effect, such pertinent issues, the pay, the working hours, all those different things. And then now what comes is more or less an uppercut. They come and go around you and bring this shocker on you. Isn't that in one way or another belittling? Is it now cosmetic that you will sign these agreements and then have something else actually out there?
Of course, when the technical people are denied the opportunity to do their technical work, that is the end result. You make a pronouncement, they are forced to implement it, but at the end of the day, the hiccups come and there is no fallback. We did spend a lot of time in coming up with this collective bargaining agreement, and it was to be phased in 5 years. And it was taking care of everybody who earns salary from the consolidated fund. When we signed it, we knew we had reached there. But later, a pronouncement came. The technical people in the Ministry of Public Service had no choice but to implement it. Now, as they implement it, right now, you will go to some local governments, the civil servants have not received the June salary. Go to Isinjiro, go to Kabale, go to Chiruhura, no June salary. Others have not received July. Others have not received August. Now, but you expect performance.
Yes.
Now, how do you expect performance from a teacher, for example, whose child is in a candidate class, who has not been paid for 3 months, and has not taken his child to school, and then you expect this teacher to teach others, and effectively, and produce results?
You talked about announcements being made without the knowledge or the awareness or the support of the technical team,
yes,
and how this culminates into disaster. This announcer or the owner of these announcements here, the announcer,
yes,
who in very many ways has not only attacked the social work fraternity, has also come out really seems sometimes to make these announcements just flippantly. But of course, we do know for sure that the mindset towards teachers, let's even recap and go a little bit backwards. In your village, there must be people that you looked up to because they were teachers from the teaching profession, the most clean ones, the ones that always had a suit. That is how they were represented. They represented themselves. And teaching profession, these people here were people of high standard in the community. The cleanest, with the cleanest houses. They really lived the calling. They went through the life. And this was actually taken on. It inspired very many to get into the teaching. But you make different announcers come in and make different announcements, especially when you had the sit down. Yes, when you called in 2022, had the sit down, you did have quite a number of intimidation going on with the teachers. And the ways that it was said, it's as if, I remember someone remarked at this, do they think they're talking to school children? Do they think they're talking to children? Go back to class, otherwise we shall fire you. It is not. What has happened from the 30, 40 years back to the different mindsets, reputations, and the way teachers are looked at right now? What has happened and what is being done to change the narrative?
You see, some people get drunk with the politics. And they think when they reach in those offices, they can talk anything they want. Yes, you can intimidate the teachers, you can force them to go to class, but you don't have the authority to force them to teach. And therefore, if you were wise enough, you cannot use such abusive words to the teacher and say you must go to teach. Yes, you can find the teachers in the class. You will even find them engaging the learners. But that does not translate into teaching. And therefore, a teacher, first of all, must be psychologically prepared in order for you to go to class and teach. You must have prepared. Now, in a scenario where the teacher's space is full of intimidation, is full of rebukes, now the teacher will be left with no option but to pretend to be there. And then you will find we are replacing absenteeism with presentism, which is very dangerous. And I want to make this very clear, because even if you were as religious as a pope, you remain a human being. Someone is coming from class, has taught for 40 minutes, you are meeting at the door entrance, you are entering to teach for 40 minutes. This person earns 5 times.
Yes, what you earn.
What you earn. And you say you will get the motivation. Actually, every time you meet, it comes.
It's a reminder.
Even when you were innocently coming to teach. But the moment you meet this person, it comes again. Oh, we are doing the same job. We are nurturing these children, but this is what it is. And therefore, the space for the teacher. One time they asked the Chancellor of Germany why she was paying teachers more than any other civil servant. And she told them, you see, teachers have produced all these professionals, and therefore you cannot equate them to the teachers. It is a reverse here and most other countries, which is unfortunate.
And trust me, this is why we want to look at this reversal and find out why is it happening in Uganda. This is why I even recapped and went backwards. Yes. And I said, look at how the situation was.
Those are the ones who had the bicycle in the village,
yes.
had
the suitcase, had
the house. Those were the days.
So what changed in between? What changed in between?
Of course, things have changed from one generation to another. Teachers used to be held with due respect. Now, possibly it was because the schools were still few, the numbers were still few, and now you hear people say, after all, there are very many. So the question is, there are very many doing what? Reduce them to the number you think is not very many, and then motivate them to do their work.
But there are very many, but actually the different surveys show out there that right now, you yourselves, the fraternity, is actually at the forefront of telling children within the classrooms, do not eat this chalk, do not become like me. Go become a doctor.
You don't need to tell them.
You don't even need to tell them sometimes.
You don't need to tell them.
But the mere fact that you even speak this.
Our children look at how they are living in their homes. They know what they go through. They are the ones who do not have school fees, and the father, mother must go to plead. And therefore, they understand what it means by being a teacher. So, what should motivate them to be like father, like mother?
Nothing.
We are going to reach a time when we shall have no attraction to the teaching profession.
I think the time has already been reached.
Now, that's why I told you that the consequences of the decisions that are being taken today will be seen in the near future. And that will be unfortunate for this country. Because if you have a profession that cannot attract people, if you have a profession where people go as a last resort, and after qualification go to look for other things, then there is a problem. And that will have dire consequences on the population, because you can never think of development when education is dying on the other side.
Mr. Baguma, it tickles my mind when you say in the near future, because what I'm seeing right now is our team has been talking to different teachers, even at the beginning of this year,
yes.
At the very beginning
yes.
of this year. I personally went out to a couple of schools to find out what the situation is. So it's not even in the near future. The near future is actually now. It's already happening.
The near future could be today afternoon.
No, it's not even. You are in denial. I don't know why you are in denial. The reality about it is that out of the sampled schools, around 35 schools within Kampala,
yes,
within Kampala Wakiso, out of 35 schools that we did visit with my colleague,
yes.
What happened is, out of them, the majority, over 90%, actually were recruiting. And even the directors themselves say they had trouble getting the caliber of teachers. Not only did they have trouble getting replacements for the teachers, but even getting a particular caliber that they wanted. So the reality is there are not only few teachers right now willing to get into the profession to teach.
Yes.
The teachers are there, but they are into lucrative businesses, quote unquote. Even those ones that are willing to come on are not of the best caliber for those particular town schools. So it is not the near future. The future is already happening right now. Now, as
Yes.
UNATU, the Uganda National Teachers Union, you know very well what is happening right now. From the time all this pay gap, the gap was totally widened. What has happened from your side, from UNATU, to bridge it?
Of course, we continue to raise a red flag. To those who choose to listen, they will listen, so that tomorrow we are not on record having seen something going wrong
and kept quiet,
and chose to keep quiet. We don't have the mandate to recruit the teachers. We don't have the mandate to pay the teachers. We have the mandate to advocate for better welfare of the teachers. And therefore, government owes Ugandans the responsibility to educate every school-going child in this country. And the Constitution is very clear. It is the responsibility of government and the parents to educate children. And therefore, if we see government in actions and decisions towards inability of the teaching learning process, then government stands to be blamed for its actions. So when we talk of what is it that you are doing, obviously, even here, we are raising a red flag to the government that, look, we are having a scenario which is not friendly in the teaching learning process. And it should be a concern of every Ugandan, because if education dies, then everything will collapse. let all these initiatives they are thinking about, they will not work. Even the moral fiber within the country, you see some of the things we go through are as a result of the type of education we have. Because you are training learners and these products get out of school and they have nothing to do. And what do you expect? So it is us as Ugandans to make sure that we put our heads together and make sure we task those with the responsibility of governing this country to make sure that education is an investment where our parliament must interest itself to make sure that everything is in order, up and running. Right now, as we talk, as a country, we have neglected pre-primary education. And the countries with the best education systems have invested heavily in early childhood development.
When primary and secondary is limping.
Now, of course, you know, if you are building a house, you need to have a strong foundation. They are limping, but we are saying no. Investment in education must be made a priority. And if we don't make it a priority, whichever priorities we go for, at the end of the day, the effect will be seen and we shall have wasted a lot of resources.
But we can as well give them some credit. Yes, recently any person, as long as it was a nice person, quote unquote nice, and had a garage, would start up an ECD. Yes? Any particular would start up an
even
ECD.
Today.
Yes, it is still there, but you have had increasing efforts actually coming in from the government. The framework is out. The different integration of the phonics is out. It is already there. The supervisors are also trying as much as possible to get out. Yes, they are challenged with logistics, but there is something. It is better than it was 10 years back.
Let me tell you.
Why is it
let me tell you. If we had the National Teachers Council in place today, most of those whom you are saying have improved will close the next day because they don't have the minimum requirements
to actually
you don't have a residential house turned into a nursery school. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. And therefore we are doing badly, and it must be the responsibility of government to take on early childhood education, not leaving it in the hands of the private sector.
And talking about responsibility, let's take a short break. We'll head back to responsibilities of NATO.
Because
a short break, and we'll return with this.
Smart 24, driving business.
We all have that friend, always by your side, moments. Alina drama munji. And sometimes, akuteka kupressure. But it's always there to celebrate your wins. Where would we be without our BFF? This season, enjoy football's best moments with your BFF GoTV. Upgrade to GoTV Max to enjoy all the best football live on Supersport. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Are you a woman entrepreneur or woman owning a business and Looking for affordable financing to scale up your business? Look no further than the Grow Loan. Grow Loan targets female entrepreneurs nationwide. Key features include a minimum loan amount of 4 million and a maximum loan amount of 200 million shillings, a maximum interest rate not exceeding 10.5% per annum, a loan repayment period not exceeding 24 months. All Grow Loan borrowers must comply with the Grow Project environmental and social standards. Special incentives are available for borrowers that are refugees or from the refugee host communities, people living with disabilities, and women entrepreneurs from the underserved or minority groups. To apply, contact any of the 6 participating financial institutions. Contact us for more information or visit our website at www.grow.go.ug. The Grow Loan is an intervention under the Grow Project, a Government of Uganda project financed by the World Bank and implemented by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development and the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Grow, generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises.
Yellow, this is MTN. We are currently in Nakaloke, Mbale District, Bilari, Nursery and Primary School. We are here to award a winner, and our winner happens to be Mubaraka Hadija.
Naine mukwano gwange ne mugamba konti aba MTN bankubidde esimu ne bangamba nsasudde school fees era ndi muwanguzi. Nadamu nangamba nti aba bafere. Nze ne mugamba nti naye wabanga bafere. Bangambe bagenda kujja school fees wange bamuleete. Kandi ndo olunaku olwo banaaba baleeta school fees awo ndyoke nzikize nti si bafere. Abazadde abali eyo mbagamba beeyongere okukozesa MTN Momo okusasula school fees w'abaana baabwe bajja kuba bawanguzi nga nange weepangudde olunaku lwa leero.
Abantu bawangula *165*80# osasule school fees. Kozesa ne Momo app osasule school fees.
Together, we're unstoppable.
Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from the break. Off air, we are still having this particular discussion. We are here talking about bridging those pay gaps in the education sector. And to give us insight on this segment of Business Insight is Mr. Baguma Philbert, the General Secretary of UNATU, which is the union, the Uganda National Teachers Union. Well, this is the funny part. We are talking about bridging, addressing that pay gap, but we will talk about a little bit about what we have been talking about off air. The fact that, you know what, you seem to keep throwing it to the government. Every time you keep throwing it to the government, and you are saying for as long as any school can come up anytime, whether it is the nursery school, whether it is the primary school at any one time, because those are the avenues of investment these days.
Yes.
Real estate schools, and real estate, schools, and a couple of other things, and farming. Those are the very first 5 core places that people think about on where can I put my money. And of course, you have the collective trusts right now. But you are saying, Mr. Baguma, that for as long as these schools will mushroom up any time without any supervision, in one way or another, the pay will also be jeopardized. Is that it?
Obviously, these schools have been mushrooming because we don't have a regulator. As a profession, we don't have a regulator, and that's why everybody thinks the best investment should be in education. Education is not a commodity like any other commodity. It is a public good. And that's why when we talk about it, we bring in the government aspect, because it is its responsibility to provide quality education to its citizens. Now, in the absence of the regulator, everybody has come up with a school, everybody is in the school teaching, whether they did education,
Whether they are qualified or
did
not.
not, whether they are qualified or not. And then when they behave in any way they want, then the blame goes to the teacher. The teacher has defied. The teacher has done this. Now, when we are now having the teachers' bill in Parliament, it is at committee level. This teachers' bill is going to create a professional body, the National Teachers Council. This National Teachers Council will be a regulator. Now, what has been failing to regulate these schools is that who owns the schools?
Yeah.
They are members of parliament, they are ministers, they are LC5 chairpersons, they are councillors. So even when you are an inspector,
Yes.
you close the school in the morning at 8, by midday the school is up and running. And they will tell you order from above.
Yes.
Now, these have been happening because the inspectors are employees, and therefore they can threaten them. But the National Teachers Council, with its mandate by law, will not be easily intimidated. And therefore, once they put standards in place, you either have them or you don't have them. You will not stand in front of learners unless you are trained and qualified,
to do so.
you are registered and licensed. And therefore, whatever they have been enjoying, the time is coming when they will really go to the task. It is not everybody that should invest in education. This is the absence of government investing in education. Because globally, countries agreed to invest around 20% of the national budget, or 6% of the GDP. Uganda is at 8% of the national budget. And that explains what you see. You see, when the schools open, jam in Kampala. The first week and the week when they are closing, you hear people say the ministry should regulate this, because those of up country and those of around are moving towards the same schools.
Yeah.
The other schools are half dead. So parents are looking for where they can get some reasonable degree of performance for their learners.
Yeah.
And therefore you find very few schools very congested.
Yes.
And of course, at the end of the day, that one also affects them. Because if a school goes to 3,000, 4,000 students, 6,000, they are limited by space. The resources will be competed for. You will find some children there cannot eat, and they will keep quiet. No, at the end of the day, the issue is investment in education. We are having parents pay in these early childhood centers.
801 million, 1.5.
Now, you are paying for a nursery child the amount more than a course in Makerere. You are like doing medicine, but the child is in nursery school, which nursery school is not properly regulated, but you are paying lots and lots of money. And therefore, once government invests in education, then the question of the parents moving up and down will be solved, and we shall have a systematic recovery from where we are now.
There's a particular saying that is often, mentioned here and there, and they will say your compound will be feared depending on how loud the dog will bark. You know it. Your compound will be feared depending on how loud the dog will bark.
Yes.
These dogs that are keeping the watchers, you are talking about obviously good things coming in. You are talking about the fact that the cabinet has given the green light to the National Teacher Bill. You are talking about a council. We've also seen other councils come up and still the dog's bark is not that loud. Now when all this, the councils are being put in place and all these different wonderful things that are meant to bring about professionalism are put in place, and yet the bark is not that loud. Don't you think that it will not make any difference? Why is it that UNATO has been there, but I believe sometimes the members themselves are getting a little bit less and less, have less and less confidence in the fact that they will be represented? Why is that happening?
Of course, when you look at the environment we work in, you have had people from different professions crying out. The environment that we are working in is not the best environment, because if you are in an environment where systems don't work, that is the end result. So, of course, people will get disgruntled. But supposing even those councils and other bodies were not in place, what would be the state?
Some will say it is business as usual.
Now,
nothing happens.
Of course, you will say nothing happens, but if this TV was not there, where would we be talking from?
That's a different context.
You see,
the
TV being here,
there would be a gap.
You have invited me in my capacity as a representative of teachers. So assuming there was no TV here, and assuming there was no organization that brings teachers together, then it would be to whom it may concern. And at the end of the day, some of these things would be going unnoticed. But as we continue to discuss and talk about them, then even other people will say, hey, so this one is also there. So this one is supposed to be like this. At the end of the day, even a clock, which is not working without cells, at one time of the day you will find it right. And therefore, the existence of these bodies and the continuous advocacy makes things change. There is no permanent situation in this world. Everything has a beginning and an end. And the end will justify the means. So we cannot say, now that things are not working, we must keep quiet. That does not work. We must continue to advocate and push on like the religious people are. They keep praying until something happens. Yes. And therefore, we are not about to get tired on talking about what is right. Because Ugandans deserve better. Teachers deserve better. The learners deserve better. And the moment we leave the vurugo, then at the end of the day, me and you, whether we want to be very good citizens, we cannot be very good citizens in a fragile environment. So we must make sure that the environment is conducive for everybody. It's like if you are educating your children in a village and all other children are not going to school. Where will yours stay? Even if you build a very high perimeter wall, they will waylay them before they enter. And therefore, it is a responsibility of us Ugandans to make sure that we bring out these issues where the gaps are, so that those in the responsibility offices can listen and take heed to some of these. Saying something and having it done are two different things. Me, I will have done my part. Whoever is not addressing the gap, that is, history will judge us differently. I did my part, you did not do your part. At the end of the day, you are there to blame.
Sometimes this attitude of I'm doing my part, do your part as well, Sometimes this particular attitude is the one that has been said to fail actually in a particular, action in front along the way. Because at the end of the day, if at all one is not doing their part, call them out, call them to book immediately. But for as long as you know that there's a system in which one is doing their part, the other is not, and then the other one takes the relaxed seat and says, but you can see it, matadom. You're now in courtyard, and you're saying that I am keeping myself, I am doing the best that I can. Can we have as many? How proactive should this get? Because clearly, even throughout the lockdown, Mr. Baguma, throughout the lockdown, personally, subjective opinion, I believe the teachers are the ones that suffered the most. And even right now, no wonder the attitude is still poor among the teachers. What more proactive, and we're talking about short term, can be done to ensure that this pay gap is bridged? Unatu, what particular action right now is being done in the short term to make sure that something is done? And then you can also give us the long term as well.
Right now, we have written to government about the same. The budget cycle has just begun, and we shall not continue to pretend. Come next year, beginning of term, the teachers will not be in school if government chooses to continue neglecting them. And that means the parents will have a choice of where to go, because like I told you, teacher issues are learner issues. So if we are talking about these issues and the parents are in the comfort zone, at a time when they will have no teachers in the schools, that is when they will wake up. But this is a responsibility of everybody. It is glaringly seen that you cannot work in this environment, and it is not only teachers, by the way, the entire public service. You cannot have an extension worker at the sub-county earning more than a cow, and you say the cow is the head of civil servants in a local government. That is absolutely wrong. And therefore, when we talk about these things, people need to interest themselves in what is taking place.
Which people?
Ugandans.
All people.
Ugandans.
But now how can you say all people? You will come out with all these strategies, but at the end of the day, even your own teachers, you will say, teachers, put down your tools, let us first sit and have some harmony. But at the end of the day, some schools will still open, some teachers. But those ones who are in the bracket of 4 million,
even those who have been enhanced will have no reason to keep at home, because they think it is like the other analogy where someone stood on an anthill and said, bye-bye, people on earth. So, in essence, they would be joining because they know what this has brought. No, they know what this has brought at the workplace. They no longer interact freely with the people they use it to interact with. And therefore, they know the repercussions of what this has brought. And they would be also at the forefront to make sure that every teacher is treated fairly and just for the benefit of the learner. Now, for the citizens and stakeholders, when we are talking here, we don't have a selected audience to say these should listen and these should not listen. Everyone is listening, and everyone must rise up to indicate to it that, look, this discrimination is taking us nowhere. Of course, there are others who will not talk. They are in offices, they cannot talk, but they are not working. And therefore, for us who come up and say, look, there is a problem here, we may be seen as bad. But there is no problem if you look at me and call me bad when I'm telling you the truth. I have no problem with that, because the history will judge us. You called me bad because of telling you where the gap was. That is okay, there is no problem. But The children of this country deserve better. They are innocent. They are not part of these decisions which are taken. But the decisions are affecting them. And their tomorrow is going to be ruined. And we don't have tomorrow if we don't have children.
So what's the way forward?
The way forward is, one, government must address what it created in the shortest time possible for the benefit of the learners. You see, I want you as media people to get interested in these things. You go to the local governments and find out. Pension and gratuity, they will give a district like 500 million. One person needs 230 million as gratuity. So what do you do? Where will the others go? And therefore, there is when you come up with something, then along the way you realize
it's not working.
It's not working, but you cannot go back because in the public service, once you have formally given someone salary, you can never retrieve it. And therefore, you must look for other ways of addressing it and bringing others to that level, but you have no choice. And therefore, sometimes we need to think through the decisions we take. And especially if this decision had been taken by technical people, then the politicians would come and say, no, how did you do this? But now, if the order is from above, which above I don't know whether from the sky or where.
But you know the above exists.
Then, at the end of the day, nobody can rectify it. So, as a matter of fact, the teaching-learning process is under attack.
It's under attack.
Under attack. And nobody should lie you. This one, I say it when I am confident looking in the screen. Nobody should lie you that there is effective teaching and learning in the country.
It is not.
It is not.
What is there is just a mock practice.
They are going there to present themselves.
Instead of
and
presenting.
it is interestingly, it is for both those who were enhanced and those who were not enhanced. Even the early retirement you hear, both of them are leaving. Some are leaving because they are not sure whether this salary will remain. And they want to grab it and go. Others are leaving because they are demoralized. They feel they are not valued. Now, what has happened? If you go to any school, in A level, the classes of art subjects are empty. Everybody, whether they know sciences or not, they have gone to the science class because government has condemned arts and humanities. Now, do you know what that is going to result into? We shall have false scientists. Do you know what that translates into?
Tell us. We need to know. We need to know the magnitude of this.
You will go to the clinic, they inject you wrongly.
Integrity is lacking.
You lose your life.
So,
and therefore, we need to resolve this issue. We needed it yesterday. If we want to see a developed Uganda. Sometimes I sympathize when I see Uganda is on track, Uganda is gradually coming up. It can never happen without education. And therefore we can sugarcoat, we can say all good things, but once education dies, nothing will be talked about.
And what we all get from this, even as we close up, as we wind up this is definitely more advocacy and more support for the cause needs to be done. We would want, of course, that UNATO takes on its responsibility to make sure that it is championing this and ensuring that maybe there is better tracking of some of these things as it happens, short term, long term. What particular, if we could call it a promise, can you give us right now? Affirmation, can you give us right now that within the short term and long term, this will surely come to realization? Because clearly, you've already mentioned that come 2025, first term, that no teachers will actually be within the classrooms. Is that right?
Yes, and you see, what I want you to appreciate is that the mere fact that we have said we are not teaching, even those who will be there will not be teaching. Even the learners will not be in the mood of teaching because they already know that the teachers are where? The teachers are on strike. And even when they see you entering class, they see a Judas Iscariot. Because the others are saying we need to improve the plight of teachers so that they teach their learners and students. They see you pretending to come. In some instances, there are scenarios where the teachers were told to leave by the learners, by the students. Said, you go and join your colleagues.
Let there be unity.
And therefore, by the time the students reach that level, it simply tells you that the situation is as bad as that. Now, in the short term, we are in the budget cycle, and there is need for us as a country to address this issue if we want to really talk about results. If this is not addressed, then they should not talk about performance. It will not be there. And you see, the bad thing is, every time they will come up and say, these results are better than the previous year, and then condemn the teachers. The teachers are not teaching. We need to get interested and see what is it that is taking place. Where are we going next? If the teachers are ever talking about their issues and they are not addressed year in, year out, at the end of the day, what is taking place in these schools? And the media needs to be proactive. You are products of teachers. You are what you are because of the teacher. And therefore, we want to implore you to go and bring out this information. Let Ugandans know that there is a very big challenge, and this challenge is not affecting only the teacher, but affecting every Ugandan, young or old.
Now, the good thing about this, Mr. Baguma, is that Smart 24 TV is always one step ahead, and this is why we've been having this conversation. This is not the first time. We wouldn't actually be having this conversation if it wasn't for the spotlight on the education sector. We have had Mr. Baguma Philbert, the General Secretary for UNATO, join us today, giving us some insight on how to bridge those gaps, the pay gaps within the education sector in Uganda, and of course what is wrong, what needs to be addressed, what is there for the short term and long term. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome, madam.
But of course we do know, even as you say welcome, we do know for sure that given what you have, it is more or less a threat that if at all what is posited is not rectified, what is not taken into consideration, come 2025 first term, Mr. Baguma says no teacher will be within the classroom. There is a sit down. Now what we do here at Smart 24 TV, we hold him accountable, we hold him to his word, we will be tracking it right through until 2025 first term.
Yes.
We will hold you and definitely hold you back here to give us a little bit of insight into how far you have gone.
I want to believe that God will still keep me to come back here and tell you what I'm saying now.
And with that positive note, wishing all the teachers a wonderful day and more advocacy, more proactiveness really in the plight of teachers in Uganda. This is what we would want here. because it definitely gives them better quality of life, increases their purchasing power, and also the zeal to sustain themselves and move on with life. That is very critical here at Smart 24 TV. Remember, this session happens, obviously Business Insight comes in every 9 to 10 a.m. Monday to Friday. Please join us. Let us know what your opinions are in regards to this. You can find us on social media. You can find us on X. You can find us Facebook as well as YouTube. Find us there as Smart 24 TV Official or Smart 24 TV Now or Smart 24 TV as one word. Until tomorrow, have a nice day and bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Smart 24, driving business.